Buyurun.
Dear guests, hi. Today we are having 22nd Science and Society meetings, which is organized by Istanbul Commerce University. I am Professor Dr. Tuğba Karabulut, and today we are going to talk about contributions of artificial intelligence in businesses and challenges of human artificial intelligence systems design. And we have a very, very important guest today. We are with Professor Dr. Alan Hevner. He's from University of South Florida. We would like to say hi to Professor Hevner. And Elçin Hoca is going to start with the welcome speech. Buyurun Elçin Hoca.
Thank you very much, Professor Karabulut. Professor Hevner, it's a pleasure for us to see you in our university, in our webinar, especially in our Science and Society meeting webinar. As Professor Karabulut also mentioned, today's webinar title is Contributions of Artificial Intelligence in Businesses and Challenges of Human Artificial Intelligence Systems Design. As we know, one of your most important contribution to the management field is information research design, and also you have valuable researches in knowledge innovation and decision systems, and also, of course, artificial intelligence. Nowadays, it's a very important topic for us, but it's also a very important topic for businesses. And we will have the opportunity to listen to this topic from you. Thank you very much for accepting our invitation. And I also want to tell you, we would like to see you in our university also. And welcome and invite you to our university whenever you want. Thank you very much for this webinar again. And thank you very much, Professor Karabulut, for designing this webinar. So the floor is yours. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Elçin Hoca. Yeah, dear Professor Hevner, would you like to define and explain artificial intelligence for us?
Okay, let me first of all thank everybody for organizing this, and thank all of you for attending. I know it's late at night there, and it's cold, I hear, with some snow on the ground. So, I want to make this next hour, or however long we take, somewhat definitely informative, but interactive in that, as I discuss these ideas, feel free to interrupt, to raise your hand, however you want to do that, and we can discuss this. So what I want to present around the topic of artificial intelligence and design, as you know, I'm sure many of you, or if not all of you, are familiar with the design science research concepts and literature that I've been fortunate enough to have a role in introducing to many communities, not just the information and business communities, but the more technical, even education, accounting, many fields are now recognizing the importance of design, intelligent design, and research-oriented design in their disciplines. So when I think of artificial intelligence, that term is so widespread and widely used now, it's in some sense meaningless. Artificial intelligence is becoming almost a commodity in our business environment. What I'd like to focus on is the term artificial. As you know, Herbert Simon's famous book, Sciences of the Artificial, really talks about what is an artifact. How do we design artifacts? Well, an artifact is made by human intention and skill. And as we do design science research, we want to introduce creativity and novelty in these artifacts. So when I think of a artificial intelligence, I think of a socio-technical system where we're not just talking about the technologies involved. Just as important is the human aspect, the human artifacts that surround the use of artificial intelligence systems. So my perspective is a systems perspective, and in fact, a socio-technical systems perspective, where we're not only designing technical AI artifacts, we're designing the artifacts that humans will use to make most effective application of artificial intelligence. So let me start by focusing on that boundary, the boundary between the technical side and the human side. And let me just talk about I'm going to share a couple diagrams with you. So let me see if I can make this work without too much effort. Okay, I think you're seeing my screen here. Let me get it to a form where I can see it a little better. Okay, so the design of socio-technical systems for AI. And you can see I've got a Venn diagram here where, we've got the human behaviors, we've got the machine behaviors, and then we've got the design science. So as we design novel AI technology, we'd be in this part of the diagram here. As we design the human artifacts, the processes, the interfaces that allow humans to effectively use artificial intelligence, we're in this space. But probably the most challenging, the sweet spot, if you will, is where the machine, the human, and novel innovative design comes together. And that's the center here. So this would be the sweet spot. Now, we know that a lot of the AI community is sort of focused over here, coming up with new, if you will, algorithms for decision support, expert systems for, say, medical diagnosis, recommendation algorithms, all the more technical, if you will, computer science oriented type of work. We in information systems, in the business school, we want to build the synergy of that great technology that's being produced, but it's not going to be effective if we also don't design the human components, the human interactions, the human interfaces that allow us to use that technology effectively. So let me stop my share here. Any questions so far? The next question I know that was your list is, how do we then interact with business, the business communities in these types of AI types of systems? Sharing again.
Maybe Murat Hoca would like to ask a question related to that.
Yeah, please. Any questions?
Okay, yeah, thank you, Professor. It is a very impressive point that I would like to learn. There is, as you said, there is the human center and the technical center so far, the research focus on it. And so from the historical perspective, when this revelation happened and what's going on in that way?
Right, and that's what I'm going to expand on in this talk is, how we focus on the synergy between the technology and the human and where the research challenges are in that space. And so I'm going to detail 8 research challenges, and I've recently written a paper on that topic. So I'll walk through those ideas with you in just a little bit.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, other questions?
You can continue with the presentation if you like, and then if there are questions, they can just raise a hand and ask.
Okay.
Maybe because Serap Hoca, I'm sure, would like to ask a question. Would you like to ask anything before we start, Serap Hoca?
Okay, well, if you want to hold just a second, let me go through the next slide. And because when we think about, how does business interact with sort of the human cognitive goals and the machine behaviors that we're talking about. And if you read this diagram from bottom up, you see these are sort of the human cognitions. We as human beings perceive the world, we organize the world, we manipulate it, we understand it, we want to create a better world, and then we can imagine different worlds. So you can see from bottom to top, it's sort of a hierarchy of goals and human capabilities. Now, as we integrate machine AI behaviors into these activities, you can see that at the bottom, we can see where machines can and AI can have a greater role in perceiving, organizing, and manipulating the world in three basic approaches. One, they can augment human capabilities. They can be an active collaborator, sort of an interactive interaction with the human, or they can totally displace the human and take over those activities. So as we go from top to bottom, we want to first identify what are the goals of the system that we're building to support the business activity. And so let me just maybe jump to the next slide, because as I think about goals, and as a manager, you know, how do managers deal with AI systems? Well, I think to be effective as a manager, you need to understand why the system is in place, and you need to have goals for that system, and you need to be able to measure whether these goals are being met. So in some of the research that I've done, I've identified this, if you will, hierarchy of goals, where as we build a system, a socio-technical system, we first want it to be useful. So we define a set of utilitarian goals. Next, once we have accomplished or identified those goals, we want to say, what does it mean to have a safe system, secure, private, with integrity? Moving up, we want to say, is it usable? What are our interaction and communication goals? Who does this system communicate with? Who does it interact with? Okay. Next, aesthetic goals. Is it interesting? Does it have a style? Is it open? And then we bring in this idea of ethical behaviors also. Is it fair? Do we trust it? And you can see that each of these levels build upon the levels below it. And then finally, as researchers, we want to make sure that the system we're building is innovative. There's a novelty, there's a innovativeness, there's a research contribution to the point of maybe disrupting the environment that we're building in. And so I think it's important to start is as a manager thinking about bringing in these AI capabilities, understanding the overall goals of the system we're trying to achieve. So let me unshare again and just again answer any questions to this point before I get into maybe the more widespread discussion of research challenges here.
Serap Hoca, you didn't ask a question, but do you have any question?
Yes, I want to ask some questions and I want to learn more deeply. I wonder what is the importance of artificial intelligence for business? You are talking about human behavior and many goals, but we wonder what is its importance for business?
Well, you know, it's interesting that you bring up just business, because when I think about it, I think business is just part of, you know, many disciplines here, all of which will involve themselves with AI, with you know, these ideas of machine learning, expert systems, decision support systems. Now, specifically for business, I've made this presentation to accounting people, to marketing people. They all align and understand, you know, what is the role of machine learning, machine support of what we're trying to accomplish in accounting, in marketing, in entrepreneurship, in all of these fields. So, you know, I think you need to understand or take the application you're faced with and then apply the ideas that I'm going to present and have presented to think through, and I'd be happy to answer a specific question on, a specific business application.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay.
You can continue to your presentation, and if there are questions, they can ask you.
Okay. So let's talk about how a business manager would integrate and understand what AI systems they need and how then they would design and build that to fit into their environment. So now I want to go into this. It's a fairly large diagram, but I'm going to walk you through it because I want to talk about the different challenges that we might face. Okay, I need to. Okay, let me bring this slide up and I'll focus in on it. There we go. Okay, now this is a conceptual set of challenges that we as designers have as we build what I call HAIS, Human Artificial Intelligence Systems. So I'm going to focus in on, there's 8 challenges on this slide. So let me expand. I think you can see what I've expanded. The first challenge is what I term a composition challenge. And this is where we bring together the resources that we need to solve a particular application and set of goals for that application. Again, understanding the goals of your system are going to be very, very important because it scopes, it bounds exactly what you can accomplish with the system you're bringing in. So as you can see, we want to make sure we understand what are the human components that we bring to the system and what are the machine AI components we bring to the system. You know, what access do we have to, say, big data, to build the, machine learning, the neural networks, the expert systems around. But just as important, and I want to keep emphasizing this human component to the system, is who are your stakeholders? You know, what are their expertise? What do they bring to this system? So at this point, our composition challenge is what resources are available? How would we acquire other important resources for this system? Understanding our goals, building from the utilitarian, the usefulness, the safety, security, privacy, the ethical components, understanding our goals, and then starting to think about these trade-offs between, what is the human doing? What is the machine AI element doing? So once we work through that challenge, then we get into the design space. And I've written about this many times in my papers, how do we go from the problem space to the solution space? And then how do we evaluate the effectiveness and how do we know that we've satisfied the goals of the system? So the 3 challenges here, which, I think are really critical for good design. First, in the problem space, understanding the context, the stakeholders, your goals, is complexity. We deal with very complex challenges in business, in many of the other social environments that we deal with. So how do we deal with wicked problems? How do we think through the bounds and the scope of the socio-technical system that we need? And as has been said by people like Einstein and Edison, understanding and modeling the problem is 95% of the solution. So understanding your problem space is really the starting point for designing the system. So dealing with the complexity challenges. Then moving to the solution space, we bring the resources we've put together in the first step and we say, how are we building the solutions? And then the iterative nature of design says, we're going to refine that solution. We're going to evaluate its goodness over time till we're ready to introduce that solution into the problem space. The challenge here clearly is creativity. We want to build a system that is innovative, novel. We want to empower and enable creative teams, creative processes with a creative support environment. So a successful building of a solution requires clear creativity. Now, bringing this together, bringing the solution to the problem is evaluation. And again, we've written a lot about this in design science, how we can do first formative evaluation in the solution space, and then summative evaluation as we bring that solution into the problem space. And there are really two types of evaluation. One, does it work? Fitness for use. And is it a sustainable solution, which is fitness for evolution? And I term this challenge the confidence challenge. How do we provide enough evidence that gives all the stakeholders enough confidence to use the system effectively? So that requires that we have defined appropriate goals. We have rigorous evaluation methods that provide evidence that we've met those goals, to provide trust in the result and stakeholder confidence in the system. Now, let me stop there. I've gone through 4 of the 8 challenges. Let me get back to them in a second, but I'll stop share and see if anybody has any questions on those first 4 challenges.
Mehmet, would you like to ask anything? Your voice is closed. It's turned off.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Professor Alan. Nice to meet you, and I'm very happy to join this meeting. And I'm very honored with you to share your information and ideas. I would like to ask you about the companies. How can companies integrate AI into the existing business systems?
Well, I think we've just covered that. That first composition challenge says, how am I currently using AI? And if not, where are the opportunities for me to use AI? Now, it's not enough just to say AI is a good thing, so let's bring in a lot of existing AI systems. It's important, as I mentioned, that you scope very well the problem you're trying to solve. I mean, what is your goal? What are your goals for the system? And once you've then scoped, then you can bring in the appropriate resources and do those steps of design that I've just mentioned. Understanding your problem, understanding how you would design a solution. And I would argue that, well, first of all, for research, but even a good business manager is going to say, how can I do something better than what other companies are doing? Obviously, I want to be the leading edge. I want to be the person who's, setting the standards, in my industry. So how can I do something differently, innovatively, novel? How can I disrupt, the community that I'm working with, the customers, the clients, as well as my peers, and be an industry leader. So, I think as you think through the challenges I'm presenting to you, you'll see that a manager has an important role to play here in fitting good AI systems into their environment.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. You can continue your presentation.
Okay, let me jump back onto that slide. Okay, once we've designed the system, then the next set of challenges come in the system at work, or how the system is being used effectively. I think AI systems in particular have an emergent aspect to them, and we've seen that in many studies where an AI system, say facial recognition, a chatbot, something like that has been put into use, and all of a sudden it sort of goes off the rails. The results are unexpected. We weren't able to predict the effect, the execution there. So this tells me that there's a role for the manager, for designers, for the people who are responsible for the system to monitor, to implement, deploy, and then understand how the AI components, the machine components are interacting with the humans. So there's an element of monitoring to achieve that effective balance between human decision-making and human intelligence and the AI machine and its intelligence. We know most of the AI algorithms are in some sense deterministic. I mean, they're programmed, so the data that comes in is being, analyzed, it's being studied, and something is being produced, the result. However, the interaction with the human at that point then becomes non-deterministic. It becomes emergent, as I would say. For example, the famous example of the chatbot that was just supposed to provide deterministic service. However, based upon its responses to the human, all of a sudden it became very biased. The data it was receiving, wasn't being used in appropriate ways. So we need to be able to monitor and control. So this is a control challenge. How do we control the system in use? How do we know when that we need to shut it down? We need to sort of rethink the design. And over time, is it meeting the goals we're setting? If not, that gives us another indication and flag, if you will, that maybe the system we built didn't quite meet the goals, and so we need to do a redesign. Now, moving over to this, because people are accountable, they're responsible for the system design. So as I look at how we manage the system, monitoring, auditing, this brings in this idea of regulatory compliance, ethical, non-biased responses, and overall stakeholder satisfaction. I term this challenge a conscience challenge, to say, are we meeting societal, organizational mores, morality that we expect in these type of systems? Are the results rational, fair, understandable? Can they be explained? Are they considered ethical? And I know people may disagree on that. Different cultures have different ethics that they're based on. And are we satisfying the stakeholders? That is the essential meaning of quality, in that the system is a quality system if stakeholders are satisfied with the results, if they use it effectively, and if the system becomes sustainable for them over time. Okay, so that's the two challenges of the system in use. There's a couple externalities that I want to bring up. The first one being governance. This is a very important topic. As a business manager builds and integrates an AI system into their environment, who are the entities that are responsible and have oversight of that? And they could come in many different ways. I mean, the organizational oversight, but typically there may be government oversight, there may be laws, there may be professional organizations that take some responsibility here. Issues of insurance, auditing, even political and societal influences come to bear here. I term that a certification challenge. And this has to be considered, as you see, at all steps of the process here, both as you're organizing and thinking how you're going to put the system together, as you're designing the system, and as you're operating the system. You have to make sure that you're meeting standards, safety, security, privacy, usability, auditability, and regulatory and legal standards that may apply to that particular application. And then finally, let me mention our role as researchers, in that as we do this research, we need to add new knowledge to the extant knowledge bases of the world. And in my papers, I've discussed this idea of descriptive knowledge, which describes how the world works, but our design builds prescriptive knowledge, which is knowledge on how we can improve the world. This is where we build our artifacts, and then we build our design theories around those artifacts. Okay, so I term these contribution challenges here, in that design science research makes a contribution to our application relevance, but we also make a clear contribution to the knowledge bases in terms of rigor. And as we publish our results, we really need to identify, what are the new contributions we're making to these knowledge bases for our academic and scientific audiences. We've already made contributions to our practitioner audiences throughout, because we've solved a real world problem, a wicked problem here. So as you can see, I've identified here 8 design challenges that I think all business managers have to think through as they integrate AI applications into their environment. Not only thinking about the technology, but also about the human behavior and how do you build the processes, the interactions, the interfaces for the human to make best use of these AI systems. So again, let me stop share and happy to address questions.
Yeah, I think it's very beneficial, framework. Murat Hoca, did you raise your hand?
Yeah, thank you, Professor. This is very impressive and very sharp view about the AI capabilities. And I wonder, there are some companies which is a business model based on the AI capabilities, like a Google, for example, Facebook. They are new kind of business model and company models. So I wonder, the traditional companies cannot use AI capabilities like that kind of companies. So how they make their transformation to compete with that kind of new business model, new AI capabilities based structure. So please, if you share your
first of all, you're going to learn from the mistakes that these big companies are making, right? The Facebooks, the Googles, the Twitters of the world, they're not, they're having successes, but as they interact with these AI, as their users are interacting with this AI, you see these issues of ethical behaviors, of effectiveness, safety, privacy, all these types of goals that I've identified really come to bear. Okay, so first of all, you can learn from what these larger companies are doing. Secondly, your scope is very different from the Facebooks and the Googles of the world. You have a well-defined set of stakeholders, clients that you're trying to satisfy with your AI capabilities and systems. Once you've scoped it down, I think you'll find opportunities for innovativeness, with your set of stakeholders. You don't face the scale that a lot of these large companies do, but within the scope of your systems, I think there's clear areas where you can innovate, where you can be different, where you could have value add, where you can make your company stand out and stand above many of your competitors.
Okay.
Thank you. Özgür, would you like to ask a question?
Yes, thank you, Hocam. Thank you, sir. I'm one of the PhD students at the university. Actually, I have a general question. What is the design science and how can it affect organizations?
That's a very broad question. I've been working on that question for probably the last 30 years. So I'm going to give you a very sort of quick answer. The reason I got very involved, as you know, my background is computer science. My PhD is in computer science. I've been working in business schools now, though, for close to 40 years. So I get passionate and excited about taking technology, making it work in business applications and beyond business. You know, I've presented to education and many other disciplines and fields. But what I saw was that you were either doing deep dive technical research or you were doing very high level behavioral intent to use type of research. Now, it's not a criticism of either of those types of research, but what we're missing in a lot of the business research over the last number of years is this synergy between the technology and the human. Okay. Now, design science research says we want to take interesting problems. We want to start from real world problems and we want to design innovative solutions. And then we want to inductively generalize our experiences and what we've learned into what we term nascent design theory that then would grow into more general mid-range theory. And if you read our 2004 MISQ paper and the 2013 MISQ paper that I wrote with Shirley Greger, you'll see how we've built sort of from ground level the thinking that building, designing innovative systems is very viable, important, and, you know, impactful research in the business community. And that really wasn't accepted, say, 20, 30 years ago. Now that we have, I think, design science as a accepted research paradigm in the business community, now we can really, I think, make a difference. We can have more impact by providing real solutions to these problems and then demonstrating the contribution by the inductive design principles and then allowing that to generalize to other types of business applications. Again, a quick and dirty answer. Does that make sense?
Thank you, sir. It makes sense. Yep.
Thank you. So would you like to continue your presentation?
Okay, I just have two more slides and it goes to the research that I want to share with you. Okay, I just got to get this to. Okay. A couple of the questions that you sent me say, okay, what are the future research directions? And so this is the first one I want to focus on. And this is where I started my talk, saying that an AI system isn't just technology. I recently wrote a paper with several colleagues that we examined this human-computer boundary. And so this is a figure out of that particular paper where, and this draws from Herbert Simon's work in Sciences of the Artificial, because he talks about the exterior mode of design and the interior mode of design. The interior mode being the technical research that builds the algorithms, the big data analysis techniques, the modeling capability from the data. So this is important research. It's more engineering, computer science, if you will. This is the internal mode of the AI system. Now, business schools have been more focused on the exterior mode, but I think there's a lot of opportunity here that we have in a business school to say, okay, we'll accept the technology. We may be able to make some contributions on the AI technology, but our contribution is in the exterior mode. We focus on the human behavior research questions and goals. Our artifacts, and there is design artifacts here, are our interaction constructs, our models of interaction, our processes, our methods, and the instantiations, actually building the systems, measuring, evaluating human use of these systems. So our evidence can draw from both quantitative and qualitative studies of human behaviors in the use of AI. And it's important that we know that we can perhaps change this interface. Perhaps our system needs more deterministic technology, more reliance and analysis on big data. Or maybe we are too reliant on the technology and we need to bring in more of the human decision-making and intelligence into the overall system. Okay, I think we've all experienced systems where, you know, we felt that, well, maybe the machine should be more dominant in this system, or perhaps we say, maybe the machine is making decisions that the human should be making here, or there needs to be a bigger human role. Now, to be honest, that type of research we identified and we called it, we used the term Gestalt, which means we want to focus on the synergy between the technology and the human. And so this is where control comes in. You know, where do we want to focus a heavier aspect of control in our design? So our evaluation evidence would come from multi-criteria human technical studies, okay, where we have the freedom to move that human-computer boundary back and forth. And of course, we all ground this on an application domain. As I've mentioned to you, understand your application. That's the first step, is modeling the problem, and then how do we apply these AI socio-technical system solutions to the problem. So let me just stop there, because I really think there's a lot of opportunity. There's a clear research agenda that can be developed surrounding the use of AI in business by saying, you know, what is the optimum, the best human component, what is the best machine component, and how do they work together in a synergistic way?
Thank you. So, Çiğdem Hoca, would you like to ask a question?
Thank you, Professor Karabulut. Professor Hevner'i, it is a pleasure to have you with us this evening. Thank you for everything that you shared already. And I just want to ask your personal opinion about social media, such as Facebook or Instagram, and the ethical issues that may be, you know, relevant for such platforms, and your personal opinion for the balance point between artificial intelligence versus human decision making.
Well, that last question is what my talk's all about, because, you know, that is where I think we as business researchers really can play an important role as we collaborate with maybe more technical researchers who understand, you know, the depths of machine learning and neural networks, and that we play the role of how does the human use that technology most effectively. Now, your first question on my personal opinion of Facebook is, I'm on Facebook, but I'm not a deep user. I don't do a lot of interaction with Facebook, but I appreciate, and as I mentioned before, they've done, you know, I think a tremendous amount of thinking, research on how to deal with their client base, with bringing in artificial intelligence. The challenge really is, they're collecting a lot of personal data. I mean, to make recommendations, to provide, you know, an exciting personalized experience on Facebook or Twitter or, you know, some of the other social networking engines. They run the very fine line between, invading your privacy and, providing the personal touches that you expect on those systems. Personally, I lean toward the fact that I'm not going to give them a lot of personal information. If I want something, I'll find it myself. They don't need to feed it to me. Okay, but others disagree. I mean, it's very convenient, it's very entertaining, it's very enjoyable to have a personalized experience on those engines. So they walk a fine line, but I think, they're at the cutting edge of a lot of these areas of research. I appreciate what they're doing, and we can learn from them.
Thank you very much, Professor. I think there is this critical point of, deciding optimally how much we should be involved in such platforms, because if we look at it, we don't pay anything, right? So if we don't pay anything, this means that, if we are engaged with the platform, then we still give something that is precious for those people.
Right. Our personal information has tremendous value, so we are paying something.
Exactly. So this is why it is critical, and thank you for the reflection.
Thank you. So would you like to show your presentation again? The rest of the presentation?
Just one more slide, and then we'll stop and just go the rest of questions. The only other slide I have left is a summary that is in sort of the same paper that this figure is in. What we've done, and again, my system is a little bit slow here, so bear with me, is we've identified a set of research topics that go along with each of these 8 challenges. I'm not going to read through these with you, but you can see that in the paper, and by the way, my co-author is Vita Story from Georgia State on this. We've identified some examples of issues of composition, complexity, creativity, confidence, where we think there are research opportunities to say we can do better. Just pointing out complexity here. The fact that when people built chatbots and recommendation algorithms, they didn't really appreciate the level of complexity of the wicked problem they were trying to solve. And if they would have understood, say, a better scope of the problem, for example, in facial recognition, different coloring, different features, facial features, and the fact that the data they were training their systems on were from a very, if you will, limited and biased representation of the human race. They would have probably understood better the complexity challenge they were trying to deal with here. And, you can look at any of these challenges. I've got 4 on this screen and 4 on this screen, and say, okay, how do we think through these challenges as a business manager, as a design science researcher, as a business researcher, to understand and scope our problem to where we can come up with satisfactory solutions that are going to meet the goals that we've defined for our system. So I'm happy to share these slides with you. In fact, I think I've already sent them, so feel free to share them with the audience and whoever would request them. And that's the end of my slide. So I'm just happy to answer questions from this point on.
I think potential research areas are very interesting. So I'll be doing research in this topic as well. Ömer Hocam, would you like to ask a question?
Okay, thank you, Professor Hevner. I have 2 questions. Will the algorithm be able to understand the logical basis of the human that produced it? And the second, how can AI algorithm influence, for example, the human research interview and market research design, so on business activities or businessman activities?
Yeah.
What do you think about that? Thank you.
Okay. Actually, if you repeat your first research question, first question, I heard the second one. Okay.
Yeah. Will the algorithm be able to understand the logical basis of the human produced it?
Oh, okay. That's an excellent question, and there's a lot of research on human behavior that we can take advantage of, and I didn't really delve into that, but the Daniel Kahneman work on thinking fast and thinking slow, I think, plays a big role here. What is human intelligence, and what are the theories that we as designers need to take advantage of in the design of our systems. There's a lot of research on bias and nudging, where we could build interfaces to nudge humans in a way that make best use of good AI capabilities, sort of lead them into a decision-making sort of algorithm and process that allows them to take best advantage of what the machine AI algorithms are all about. The second part is, just almost analogous to the human side. We as designers need to have a better awareness and understanding of the technologies that we're building into our systems. And this is where I would maybe add another C to those challenges, and that's collaboration. How do we, as we build these systems and we try to identify the research contributions we're making with them, we need to collaborate with people who are a little maybe deeper into the algorithms, into the the machine learning capabilities, and also the data scientists. I haven't talked a lot about the data scientists here, but they're a really important element in this collaborative team of design, because we build our AI, we ground our AI on past data. And what does that tell us? What do we learn from that past data? How do we do deep learning on this? But is that data fair? Is it unbiased? Is there maybe a better set of data we should be looking at? So all of that comes to play here. So let's say, ninth challenge of collaboration, I think, has to be an important part of your design thinking here.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, would you like to ask a question?
Sure. Hello, Professor Hevner. I think it was a very useful interview for us. I would like to ask this question. What are the decision support systems, and what is the role of us in today's businesses?
Decision support systems. It's a little bit of an older term, and I think it's gone out of fashion a little bit, but I think it's still an important concept, because there are decisions to be made, and I think we have to emphasize the role of the human in the decision. The machine is not the one who makes the decision, except in those circumstances where we can totally automate. We talk about totally automated cars or medical diagnosis, things like that. We have to be very careful that if the machine is totally making the decision, what are the other implications? Are there ethical, usability, other types of implications here, safety implications? So I think we have to redefine what a decision support system means. If we bring in some, deep AI capabilities here, and keeping in mind what is the human decision support, so that the human makes the ultimate decision and the AI is the support capability. So again, I think the world of decision support systems is being disrupted, and we need to think through these ideas and challenges of design in our new systems.
Thanks, sir.
Maria, would you like to ask a question?
Hi, Professor. My question is that what are the types of learning systems? Could you explain them?
I'm sorry, what type of systems?
Learning systems.
Norming systems?
Learning.
Oh, learning systems.
Yeah.
Learning systems. Okay. Yeah, I think that's a special important category of AI or human AI systems, in that we can learn from as we use. So this is sort of the emergent capabilities of these systems, in that we sort of provide a foundation background as we build a learning system, and then as we use the system, we learn from it. It learns from us because it gathers data from our use of the system to provide a better experience. We see that in a lot of gaming systems today, right? Where, the gaming system learns from how we play it. Cars learn from how we drive them. So, and so the machine learns from us, but then we should be learning from the machine so that we can build a better experience in using the machine. So that goes into my interaction, the synergy of how the machine grows, how we grow, and how the overall system then expands and becomes a better experience.
Thank you.
Thank you. So Bilgehan, would you like to ask a question?
Hello, Professor Hevner. Firstly, I would like to thank you again for accepting our invitation and the presentation of yours. And my question is, what is the importance of neural networks for learning systems of organizations?
Yeah. I don't have much new to add on neural networks. I'm not deep onto that. I think it's part of the machine learning capabilities. And I would just quickly add that it's only as good as the data. So, garbage in, garbage out. Neural networks are very effective if the data they're grounded and trained on is good data.
I understand. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Hümeyra, would you like to ask a question?
Yes, thank you, Professor. And I wonder, what are your suggestions to company leaders to use AI in their organization, Professor?
Well, this, I guess, is sort of a wrap-up question. This is the way the world is going. That we're the AI capabilities that we're building, the technologies are amazing. They're going to make a huge difference and disruption into our world. We as humans have to appropriately scope and control the design as well as the use of these systems to our advantage. There's a number of books that I've read about, is there an inflection point? At one point, will AI, sort of self-perpetuate itself and build itself? I don't think we're there yet. I don't know if we'll ever be there, but I think we do have an important role to play to say we need to retain and achieve greater control of the artificial intelligence that's in our world. And, I think that's maybe a good wrap up to what we're saying today.
Thank you, Professor.
Actually, we received a question from YouTube, and one of our PhD students asks, would it be better to have a technical background for those who would like to research AI usage in business?
Not necessarily. I've been fortunate in that, I did have a technical background, and then I came into the business school and learned all the skills of, behavioral research and quantitative and qualitative research. I think your portfolio can be varied here. I think you can come into research on AI systems as either a technical researcher or as more of a human-oriented behavioral researcher. I think I've had great talks with people from anthropology, from sociology, from psychology, and I think they have a lot to add to what we're thinking here. So No, I would argue that it doesn't matter what your background is. You have a contribution to make in thinking how we use AI systems.
Okay, thank you. I have a question. How can we integrate AI subjects to our other courses in business schools?
I think there's tremendous capability or opportunities to do that. If you would name any topic in a business school, I think there are AI applications in that topic. It may not be at the level of a data scientist or data analysts, but just the use of, we talked about Facebook and Twitter and Google, and all their capabilities. I've had experience with companies, they're very willing to let students have access to some of their, I think, really cutting edge AI capabilities in the learning environments. So I would say that, any business professor can integrate AI thinking and AI, I would hope, design, because if you use an AI system, one of the first questions you should ask yourself is, how could I make it better? How could I find a way to use those capabilities to make better decisions in questions that are important to me? And I think that all of us are challenged with that, and the world is not going to revert back to human decision making. All decisions are going to be grounded on some technical AI capabilities in the future.
Okay, thank you very much. Do you think that AI will replace human in the near future?
No, not in the near future, not in the distant future. However, that one diagram I showed where the machine learning can displace certain functions, we'll see more and more of that. In fact, just as an aside, there's an interesting study that I think was done at Stanford. They took a look at the most recently applied patent applications, and they identified that over, I think, 60 to 70% of those were to replace white collar jobs as opposed to blue collar jobs. So AI is coming after more of the managerial activities rather than the physical, robotic activities. So I think we're in for some disruption, some change, but I don't think it's ever going to replace human critical decision making.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone who would like to ask other questions? Maybe Murat Hoca, because you are very interested in this subject.
Yeah, Professor Karabulut, thank you very much, and Professor Hevner. It is a great honor, really, having such a amazing discussion with you. And so, maybe a small question to get your opinion about it. How much changes will happen in soon about the our routine life, business life?
How much change is going to happen in what? Right. I missed your last thing.
Yeah. In our life.
Oh, in our life. Okay.
From the AI perspective.
Yeah, it's significant. Many of you have a lot more living to do than I do, and I think it's going to really impact how you work in your daily lives. How you interact with your colleagues, with your families. It will have an impact. I think it's, again, up to each of us to control that impact, to not let it be, disruptive in a way that disadvantages our human experience, our human enjoyment. We need to control how we use and how those close to us use these capabilities in positive ways, because there are some really clear ethical issues that we're going to have to face, I think, very quickly. Even the idea of, AI in drones and things like that, as how we interact with conflicts and throughout the world. We've got some real ethical decisions to make here, and we need to be the leaders helping people understand those decisions so they make them correctly to the betterment of all of us.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think as professors, we have to learn more about AI and integrate it in our courses, basically. So, dear Professor Torlak, would you like to make a closing speech? And then I will also give the floor to the Elçin Hoca as well.
No, thanks.
No? Okay. Elçin Hoca, would you like to make the closing speech?
Okay, thank you very much. Professor Hevner, thank you for all this valuable information. While answering one of the questions, you tell us you are also asking that question for 40 years. So we feel that we are getting a brief information about this topic with a 40-year valuable experience. Thank you very much, because you give us the whole frame, whole picture very well, and we understand. We have the information about the system and how it works with your slides and with this webinar. Thank you for this valuable speech and valuable informations. We will have a pleasure to see you. We would like to see you also in Istanbul, in our university.
Definitely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Actually, we just got a very final question from one of our students, and they ask, would we see AI resources management department in companies soon?
That's a good question. I think there will be greater corporate responsibility taken for AI applications, and I think there may even be sort of a C-suite capability. We now have a C-suite security, C-suite technology. I think there will be a manager responsible for AI applications in organizations.
Okay, thank you very much, dear Professor Hevner. We are very happy that you joined our webinar, and we would like to see you in Istanbul in our university as well. Thank you very much for valuable knowledge, information that you shared with us. Thank you once again.
Well, and thank you, and I look forward to visiting you as soon as everything works out well. So thank you again.
Whenever you are available. Thank you. Bye-bye. Take care.
Bye.
Thank you to all of the guests as well.